Jake Hobbs is my guitar tech. He's also one of my best friends. His job is to set up my gear. He tends to and manages my guitars and my amps and all the cabling that goes with that, so that when I play the show, all my instruments are nice and clean and intonated and in tune, and everything's patched in the way it's supposed to be, and everything's sounding as good as it can.
Hey!
What's up, man?
I met Mark at an arcade in Louisville, Kentucky. Lamb of God was doing a show in Louisville, and my wife and I and a couple friends went out to the show, met up with him.
Beyond like a cool fan or whatever, like it's weird to call you a fan, but I mean, I guess at that point you were a fan of the music, right? So
yeah.
But yeah, we just developed a legitimate, real friendship. And then I found myself in a situation where I had trouble keeping a guitar tech. I'd like to think it's not because of me, but maybe it is. But
you're like, well, why don't you come be my tech? I was, what? You know, of course. I came to Mark's house. That was the first time that I was ever on an airplane. I'd never flown until I flew to your house. And he had a rig sent there so I could, you know, see the rig and see the signal path and how things worked and everything.
Your first show you ever teched professionally, or at all really, was in Bangalore, India. And so you get to India a day late, right?
I got there the morning of the show. Hadn't slept for 2 days, probably just because of all the stress and everything. And I distinctly remember, you know, the other crew guys like, man, you need to get some sleep or something, you know? And I was like, okay. So I remember laying down thinking, what have I done?
I think it's worth mentioning that you left a pretty good job to do this, a really stable, well-paying job that you left to join the circus.
Yes, I'd kind of topped out of my career path. I didn't think there was much room for moving up, so I said, yeah,
decided to move down.
With Mark, I'm usually carrying 4 guitars because they don't have a lot of tunings. I work for other bands too, and there's times where I have 15, 16, 18 guitars, you know. There's a checklist of things every day that I have to do. You know, at this time, I set up the gear. At this time, I change strings. Staying ahead of the game is a big part of being a crew guy. You always take care of the little things, and the big things are covered if you do that.
He's a great guitar player. And interestingly to me, Jake plays kind of naturally, intuitively, more like me stylistically. He knows sort of intuitively what little changes I want and how it should feel and how it should sound. So we're really fortunate that we get along so well and that he kind of is already in sort of the same lane as me as a player. Sometimes he knows what I want more than I know what I want. And that's what you want, you know, in a tech. I think it's testimony to how great our crew is. Like, these guys can roll into any of those settings and put on a Lamb of God show. Guys like Jake make that experience happen as much or more than guys like me.
There's thousands of people like me right now that our future is very uncertain.
The virus, the pandemic has affected everyone. I realized it was going to be a thing before we had any sort of official changes made in any of the band stuff. I mean, you know, I watched the news and you saw it coming.
I had a really good friend in Italy that I was texting back and forth with, and the situation there was pretty dire at that point. And so I was like, oh, wow, this is going to affect things.
It's really hitting a lot of these guys really hard, and I really applaud Live Nation for this campaign.
Since I started teching, this is the longest stretch that I've ever been home. So on the good side, I've got to spend more time with my family than any other time that I've been doing this. So I've really been trying to enjoy that. And Mark and I send each other pictures of our little projects we have going on.
He stayed well advised on my progress with my chicken coop that I built a couple weeks ago. Gave me some pointers.
It's so much more than just a job to me, what I do. Being able to facilitate making people happy is very important to me, and I take a lot of pride in that.
That whole experience brings people joy, it brings people happiness. And when I see a parent and a child on the barricade, like, and you can see them sort of like passing that love for music onto their kids, that gives me goosebumps. We were a part of that moment. To be a part of that system and a part of the joy that comes from that, it's an honor, man. It really is.
Personally, I just can't wait to look out on that front barricade and see all the smiling people with their fists in there again, getting to watch and experience the music that they love.
Great job, Jake. I miss you, dude. I love you, man.
I love you too, man.
to lend a hand to Crew, go to livenation.com/crewNation.